Hello, this is Jo from Maths Tutor Me. Today we're doing decimals and we're going to be multiplying with decimals. So we're going straight into the examples today. So calculate each of the following without using a calculator. So everything in this lesson today, we're doing it all without a calculator. So we want to multiply 0.04 by 8. Now, 0.04 could be written as 4 hundredths, so 4 over 100, times by 8, and we could put that over 1. Now, making them fractions, we can multiply the fractions together. If we multiply the numerators together, 4 times 8 is 32, and we multiply the denominators together. 100 times 1 is 100. Now, 32 over 100 is very easy to convert back into a decimal. That would simply be 0.32. Okay, so we've multiplied and left our answer in decimal form. Let me show you that again for question 2. We want 24.9 times by 3. So this one's a little bit trickier. So 24.9 would be 249, because there's one decimal place here, over 10, because that would be 9/10. And we want to times that by 3, or 3 over 1. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to be able to multiply these numbers here together, 249 times 3. So over here on the side, I'm going to write down 249 times by 3. Now, doing our multiplication that we learned a few topics ago, 9 times 3 is 27, so 7 goes there, 2 is up the top. 3 times 4 is 12, add on the 2 is 14. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So that means that this is 747 over 10. Now, over 10, that just means I need to put the decimal point back in, so it would be 74.7. Let me show you that again. Question 3. This is a bit trickier again. 0.137 times by 500. What I can do when I'm multiplying by a big number like this with factors of 10 in here, what I can do is I can change that to be 0.137 times by 100 times by 5. Okay, because 500 is 100 times 5. And by breaking that with the 100 here, I can easily multiply this by 100. We learned that last lesson. Multiplying by 100, I move the decimal point over 2 places to make that 13.7 times 5. Okay, now, over here on the side, I'm going to multiply those together. Now, you can always write this over 10, but I'm going to show you a shortcut to having to put these fractions in all the time. What you can do is just ignore the decimal place here and just do 137 times by 5. Okay, so 7 times 5 is 35. 5 times 3 is 15. Add on 3 more is 18. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. And I get 685. But that's without the decimal place. Now the trick is, instead of having to do all this fraction stuff, however many decimal places was in the starting question is how many decimal places are going to be in your answer. Okay, so because there was one number here, the 7 was the only number that was after the decimal place, there's only going to be one number after the decimal place in the answer. So that means my answer will be 68.5. Okay, so that's a little shortcut to save you a bit of time with these over hundreds, over 10 things. You can leave that bit out if you just remember that little trick there. I'll show you it again in question 4. If I want to multiply 5.1 times 4.3, I can ignore the decimal places for a second and I can just multiply 51 by 43. Okay, multiplying that, 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 5 is 15. Then this question has a second digit. So when I want to go to the 4, I have to put a 0 down. 4 times 1 is 4, and 4 times 5 is 20. Then I add those numbers together, so that will make 3, then 9, then 1 and 2. And now I just need to know where to put the decimal place. So there was one number here after decimal point and one number here. There was 2 numbers after decimal places in the question. So there will be 2 numbers after decimal place in the answer. So that will make it 21.93. All right, question 5. Louise buys 1.64 kilograms of pears at $2.95 per kilogram. How much will the pears cost in total? We want to multiply 1.64 by 2.95. Okay, it's going to be a big multiplication. So let's do it like this one. Ignore the decimal places. 164 times by 295. Multiplying, we have a 3-digit multiplication here. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 6 is 30 plus the 2, so 32. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 3 is 8. Now the 5 is done. Cross out these numbers so we don't get confused. Now we want to move on to the 9. First of all, we have to put a 0 down. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 6 is 54 plus the extra 3. 9 times 1 is 9 plus the 5 is 14. Okay, then we want to cross these out and move on to the 2. So first of all, I need to put down 2 zeros because I'm multiplying in the hundreds position now. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 6 is 12. And 2 times 1 is 2 plus the 1 is 3. All right, adding down the columns, that's just 0. 2 plus 6 is 8. 8 plus 7 plus 8, well, 2 8s is 16, plus another 7 makes 23. 2 plus 4 plus 2 is 8, and 3 plus 1 is 4. So I just need to put the decimal place in. There was 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers after the decimal place in the question. So 1, 2, 3, 4 in the answer. So my answer will be 4.838. I don't need to write that extra 0. We could write that extra 0 if you want to. Now we're talking about money here. That's how much these pears are supposed to cost. We don't normally have price tags that have that many decimal places. Normally we can only pay to the nearest cent. So on our bank cards, so let's round that to the nearest cent, which would be 2 decimal places. So because there's an 8 here, we would round that up to be a 4. So $4.84 would be how much those pears would cost. Okay, now it is time for you to practice to see if you can repeat what you've just learned. So I'd like you to pause the video, grab a piece of paper, and try to do these questions. So, number 1, calculate without the use of a calculator. We want to multiply 0.9 times by 2. So, all we really need to know is what 9 times 2 is equal to, which is 18. Okay, now there was one number after the decimal place in the question, so there'll be one number after decimal place in the answer, making it 1.8. For question 2, we want to multiply 0.318 by 4. So let's just take 318 and multiply it by 4. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 1 is 4, plus the 3 is 7. 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so all we have to do is put the decimal point in. There is 1, 2, 3 numbers after decimal places in the question. So 1, 2, 3 will need to be after in the answer. So 1.272 is the answer. Question 3, 15.6 times by 50. Now to avoid a 2-digit multiplication here, what we can do is we can multiply that by 10 and then by 5. Multiplying it by 10 moves the decimal point over one place to make it 156 times by 5. So that there's actually no decimal place left at all. So 156 times 5. 5 6s are 30. 5 5s are 25 plus the 3 gives an 8. And 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. So our answer is 780. Question 4. 0.06 times 2.37. So let's ignore the decimal places. Let's start with the bigger number first. Put it on top. 237. And we're going to multiply that by 6. So 6 times 7 is 42. 3 times 6 is 18. Plus this on makes 22. 2 6s are 12. Plus another 2 makes 14. All right, now for the decimal places. There was 2 here and another 2 here. So there was 4 in total in the question. So all 4 of these numbers need to be after the decimal place. So 0.1422 is the answer. And the last question, number 5. Ron puts 42.1 litres of petrol in his car. If each litre costs $1.38, how much will it cost? We need to multiply 42.1 by 1.38. Okay, to do that, we're going to ignore the decimal places and we're going to do 421 times 138. So it's a big 3-digit multiplication. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 4 is 32, but plus the 1 makes 33. Okay, so that's done. Cross that out. Now to do the 3, we need to put a 0 down first for the tens position. Then 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, the 3 is done. Into the hundreds position, so 2 zeros. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. And 1 times 4 is 4. Adding together, we get 8. 6 plus 3 is 9. 3 plus 6 plus 1 is 10. Carry the 1. 1 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2. All right, so that's going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 1 plus 4 is 5. Now for working out where the decimal place goes. We had 1 number here and 2 here. So it's 3 numbers after the decimal place. So that's going to put the decimal point here. So our answer is $58.098 after that. Now again, if we're talking about money, we can't have that many decimal places. We need to round that to 2 decimal places. So normally that would be here. We want to cut it off here. Because it's an 8, I need to round that up. And because that's a 9, to round that up, I have to go to 10. So correct to 2 decimal places, that would be $58.10. All right, that's the end of the lesson today on multiplying decimals. Keep practicing and join me again next time. Bye.